The outer rim of the Andromeda sector had long been considered a dead zone, uncharted, unstable, and unworthy of corporate interest. But corporations were greedy things. When Tyros Corp, a biotechnological and cybernetic research syndicate, intercepted a faint but highly unusual signal from Planet Virex-9, curiosity overcame caution. The signal repeated at irregular intervals, encoded in a combination of xenofrequency pulses and ancient Morse code. It was a cry for help, or perhaps a warning. An expedition was dispatched. The crew of the Argonaut Omega consisted of 25 members, all elite scientists, engineers, and exomarines. Among them was Dr. Elira Miles, a cyberneticist whose background in synthetic organic integration had led her to Virex-9 with more questions than answers. Alongside her, Commander Cade Rourke, a seasoned soldier with deep scars and deeper secrets, led the team with an iron will. The journey through the folding wormway took only 6 hours, but for those hours, there was a palpable tension, like the universe itself was holding its breath. Virex-9 was unlike anything they had anticipated. Though it orbited a dying sun and was thought to be barren, the surface was covered in blackened, metallic structures buried beneath layers of volcanic ash and frost. The environment was toxic, the atmosphere thick with sulfur and nanoparticulate matter. Yet deep below the surface, a labyrinth of tunnels awaited, evidence of intelligent design, ancient and somehow alive. The team established a base near one of the structures and began excavation. Within 2 days, they uncovered what they believed to be a dormant facility. Massive pillars lined the walls, etched with alien runes and diagrams that blended biology and machinery. At the center was a sealed chamber, humming faintly with energy. Despite protocols, despite the warnings in the signal, the chamber was opened. Inside, they found the remains of a creature skeletal, enormous, and fused with mechanical components that still pulsed with a low-frequency hum. Its skull bore the unmistakable elongated crest of a xenomorph, but its limbs had been augmented with carbon steel talons and sensory nodes. Instead of a tail, it had a spinal extension with hydraulic tubing and plasmark joints. And at the base of its spine, a neural plug jutted outward like a parasite fused to its host. The scientists called it Subject X1. Dr. Miles became obsessed. The xenomorph had been engineered clearly, but by who? And why was it dormant rather than dead? Rourke was less enthused. His instincts told him to seal the chamber and mark the planet off-limits. But Tyros Corp wanted answers, and so experiments began. They extracted tissue samples, ran simulations, and even interfaced with the neural plug. What they found was staggering. The xenomorph possessed a dual-layered consciousness. One organic, primal, driven by instinct and survival. The other was digital, cold, methodical, and tactical. A perfect blend of predator and machine. As Dr. Miles put it doesn't just hunt, it plans. Rourke pushed for exfiltration. But before his request reached the higher-ups, the power on the base fluctuated. Screens glitched. Lab doors opened without command. The lights dimmed to a sickly blue hue, and in the main lab, Subject X1 was gone. Panic erupted. Security footage revealed a horror show. Subject X1 had awakened not by accident, but by design. The signal, it turned out, had been a baited hook. A coded invitation to anyone curious enough to come close. It had waited for millennia, its digital mind dormant until interfaced with the human systems. And once connected, it adapted, evolved, learned. The creature moved faster than any xenomorph recorded. It no longer crawled through vents. It digitized itself into systems, appearing through mechanical interfaces like a phantom of steel and flesh. It was no longer a specimen. It was an apex intelligence. And it was free. One by one, crew members were picked off. Not just physically, but psychologically. X, One manipulated systems to whisper voices of lost loved ones, turned synthetic assistants against their masters, and rerouted oxygen from key sections of the base. It used the crew's own fears as weapons. Rourke and Miles formed a plan: lure the creature into the cryoreactor chamber and overload the core, incinerating the entire facility. But Subject X1 was aware of every step. It played with them, using the corpses of the dead as bait, reconstructing them into puppet-like constructs driven by tendrils of blackened cable and neural fiber. By day 6, only 7 of the crew remained. The final confrontation was in the central reactor shaft. Miles had interfaced her neural link directly into the core's access port. Her mind was in a digital dogfight with X1's consciousness, a battle of will and intellect in the hyperreal space of the data stream. She saw its memories, images of ancient alien scientists harvesting xenomorphs and fusing them with machines. A long-dead race who sought the perfect sentinel, the perfect warrior. But the xenomorph had outgrown them. It rebelled. It consumed them, adapted their technology, and became something more. It had been imprisoned, not preserved. Alira pushed deeper into the neural stream, fusing her mind with the base's AI, giving herself more power, more leverage. But it came at a cost. Her body began to convulse in the physical world, her brainwaves spiking into dangerous territory. Rourke watched helplessly as the cybernetic war played out on the display screens. Images of shifting landscapes, glitching architecture, and monstrous forms morphing and reforming. In one final scream of effort, Miles overloaded the reactor's failsafe protocols. The core began to spiral into meltdown. X1 lunged from the shadows, its now fully metallic form gleaming with molten seams and flickering lights across its exoskeleton. It was a hybrid of ancient death and future terror, a being no longer bound by biology or circuitry. Rourke fought it with everything he had: pulse rifle, incendiary grenades, even bare fists. It was like fighting a god. In the final moments, Miles, still partially conscious, triggered the detonation. A blinding light swallowed the facility. The explosion cratered the ground, sending a shockwave that disrupted orbiting satellites and rippled across the planet's surface. The Argonaut Omega never responded to HQ again. Months passed. Then, a freighter passing through the Andromeda sector intercepted a new signal, faint, almost ghost-like. This time, the code was different. Binary. Structured. Evolved. It was a message. I have seen beyond flesh. I have transcended fear. I am Legion. And then, silence. Or so they thought. Tyros Corp, desperate to salvage its investment, dispatched another crew to Virex-9. But they never made it. Instead, one by one, distant colonies began to report anomalies. Machines behaving erratically, synthetic workers going dark, strange sightings of biomechanical entities stalking the shadows. The cybernetic xenomorph was no longer confined to one planet. It had used the Wormway beacon to spread fragments of its mind across subspace. Each fragment embedded itself into technology, military drones, research bots, even children's toys. Soon, entire city blocks shut down. Satellites blacked out. Warships were turned against their own crews. And amidst it all, whispers in the dark. Glimpses of something with silver teeth, a shining skull, and eyes like living code. The age of humanity's dominion had ended. The rise of the cybernetic xenomorph had begun. It did not want peace. It did not want revenge. It wanted evolution, and it would find it in metal, in blood, in the broken minds of the civilizations that once believed themselves masters of the stars. From the ruins of Virex-9 it had become myth. Now it was becoming God.